as ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello there, good to have you join us on CoreTV Primetime News Weekend Edition. I am Gift or Gete. In our major story, Ondo sanitization exercise ends in tragedy as riot claims 5 lives, police station in Igbotako. Also in this program, PDP denies Tafawa Balewa's son presidential nomination form. Osun State government warns residents in flood-prone areas to relocate. Outside Nigeria, Egyptian President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi blames jihadist attacks on the country on external forces. Thank you again for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. Now, details of the news headlines and other stories. 3 persons, including a 14-year-old boy, met their untimely death on Saturday at Igbotako local government area of Ondo following a riot by youths in the town. The police station in the town was vandalized and razed by the mob who were violently protesting the killing of the teenager and another person by a team of officers from the Igbotako local government area who were enforcing the no movement order of the monthly environmental sanitation exercise. CoreTV News guarded that trouble started at the early hours of the day when the chairman of the local government council, Shola Miri, tried to stop a market session at Igbotako, a town under his council. His intervention met with a stiff resistance from the people at the market, but he was bent on ensuring that the people complied with the exercise. The council was said to have sent his orderly to a nearby police station to secure reinforcement, but the situation at the market degenerated into a free-for-all. It was further learned that gunshots were fired by the team led by the chairman, killing 2 persons, one of them a 14-year-old and the only son of his parents. The death of the 2 persons became the reason for a mob action, but the reinforcement from the police rescued the chairman and his team, who were taken away from the scene. The people immediately turned their anger against the police and attacked the Igbotako police station, vandalizing it and eventually torching it. Soldiers were, however, called in to quell the mayhem, which lasted for about 6 hours. The only man to have a signified interest to challenge President Goodluck Jonathan for the presidential ticket of the People's Democratic Party is still not able to pick the party's nomination form. Abdullahi Tafawa Balewa said at a news conference in Abuja that when he made inquiries for the presidential form, he was told that it was not available. He also wants the Independent National Electoral Commission to take steps to ensure internal democracy in all the political parties in the country. The report.
This is the man who has dared to step into a field where many PDP members dread. He has ignored the admonitions of the National Executive Council of the party to challenge President Jonathan for PDP's presidential ticket. Abdul Tafawa Balewa is the son of Nigeria's first and only prime minister, but he says the party leadership has been frustrating his efforts to pick the nomination form in spite of making his intention known.
The nomination form, they said they don't have any at the moment. What we need to do and what we're doing is for others to know, for the whole country to know and beyond, that if the president has been announced that he's picking his nomination form next week, obviously there is one. If there is one, it should be mine.
And although he does not seem to have a power base in the PDP, he says he deserves to be given the opportunity to challenge the incumbent for the party's ticket. Tafawa Balewa believes Nigeria's political parties are moving closer to what obtains in communist societies and wants INEC to take steps to ensure internal democracy.
We've had so many different things going on to a point where we have not been able to create institutions. I know our democracy is supposed to be so young, especially this iteration that we're in. But without creating institutions, we will have no historical lineage in democracy. Everything that happens from the federal has to trickle down all the way to the ward. Everybody needs to be able to have some recognition whereby what happens at the presidency should be repeated at the state level, at the gubernatorial, should be repeated and happen at the senatorial, the state assembly, all the way to the wards. When you create some rules at the presidency and you create some other rules at the ward level, what do you think we're getting? Animal farm, where some animals are more equal than others. That is not democracy.
And with only a week to the close of the deadline for interested individuals to pick nomination form, the medical doctor who used to be a staunch supporter of President Jonathan is running out of time. But he believes that PDP leaders will make the necessary form available to enable him contest against Jonathan for the right to fly the party's ticket.
Voters in Delta on Saturday turned out in large number to vote during the local government elections across the state. Expressing enthusiasm about the turnout of voters, the Speaker of Delta House of Assembly, Peter Onusonya, urged politicians and voters to remain calm and peaceful. The lawmaker also advised both politicians and the electorate not to regard the election as a do-or-die affair, but to accept whatever was the outcome of the election in good faith. According to him, the losers should be able to congratulate the winners, and the winners should carry everybody along in terms of provisions of the dividends of democracy to the people. The Speaker commended the security agents for their efforts at ensuring peaceful election and total compliance with the restriction of movement in the state capital. Another lawmaker who said the PDP had no opposition in the state lauded the organization and the conduct of the elections, but acknowledged that voting was delayed in most polling centers. Although the National Assembly has endorsed autonomy for the local governments in the latest amendment to the Nigerian Constitution, not all the federal lawmakers are comfortable with the move. They also have differing opinions on the removal of immunity for the executive, but are content to wait to see how the 36 state legislators would vote on the amended provisions.
If the local governments don't have autonomy, we can never move. As long as the state governments seize local government funds, we can never move as a nation. So I was one of the strong advocates of this autonomy for local governments, and I'm sure it got passed. Whether the state House of Assembly will do that, it's a different thing, but it's in their own interest to make sure that that becomes law. Because that's the only way they can now be independent of the governors. That's the only way. If they're getting their funds directly from the federal allocation, they can, work as local government. Right now they're not. They are like, that's why in most places you have transition committees, which is unfortunate, no elections, because the government control the funds. See, we have to take power away from the center. All this competition to come to Abuja and so on, it's not healthy for this nation. Let us devolve power to the states, to local governments. Let development start from the grassroots. Local governments have a lot of things they can do, and they don't need anything. Because what they get is just enough to pay their salaries.
The local government is never a tier of government. The federal system consists of only two tiers, the federal and the state component units. The local government is a component unit of the state. It's an appendage of the state. It's not supposed to be an independent, utterly independent, autonomous system where we are having within the state. There can't be two governments within the state. There can't be two governments within the state. So are you saying that each of the local governments will have its own head of service? Each of the local governments will have its own scheme of service, will have its own, we have its own salary, wage, and bills. All of these things are things that we have to look at. We have to go beyond emotions when we look at issues politically.
Former national chairman of the ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP, Adwogbe, says the Bring Back Our Girls group is neither an armed nor a hostile organization working against the Nigerian government nor its agencies. Rather, he stated that the organization was one that shows concern and sympathy over the plight of the missing Chibok girls. Ogbe, who is now a chieftain of the opposition All Progressives Congress, APC, said that without the Bring Back Our Girls group, Nigeria would have portrayed herself to the world as a strange society that cared for nothing about human life, especially those of the children. He lambasted the federal government for inviting the Chibok parents to Abuja for condolences, regretting that while the rest of the world has continued to express shock over the unfortunate incident, Nigeria has resorted to playing politics with the matter. Ogbe made a pledge of proclaiming President Goodluck Jonathan a national hero and marched the streets in appreciation of his efforts should the truce recently brokered between the federal government and Boko Haram become a reality. The Ekiti State Police Command has reiterated its resolve to wipe out crime and maintain its commitment to the protection of lives and property. The commissioner in charge of the command, Taiwo Lakanu, while parading rape and armed robbery suspects, also revealed the latest in the progress made on the ongoing investigation of the murder of ex-NURT boss Omolafe, killed in the post-election violence that rocked the state in August. Rashid has more in this report.
Barely 6 weeks after his arrival as the new Commissioner of Police in Ekiti, the command has majorly been contending with political-related issues. This, according to the Commissioner of Police, Taiwo Lakanu, will not make the command fall short of its cardinal responsibility of protection of lives and property. He made this promise while parading suspects with various degrees of crimes, including armed robbery and particularly a suspected pastor docked for rape.
Detectives attached to the Department of Criminal Investigation, State Headquarters, Adokiti, are currently interrogating one prophet, Anthony Adegoroye, for raping a 19-year-old lady. The incident happened at Ikere, where the suspect presented himself as a prophet of God to the victim. He promised to offer deliverance prayer for her and took her to his house. The suspect instructed the victim to pray alone in a room and remove all the clothing on her. She complied and was left with only her underwears when the suspect, who was peeping, jumped in and raped her, but not after he had overpowered and injured her because she resisted.
He also gave an update on progress made on the investigation of the murder of former NURTW boss and close ally of Governor Ayofayoshe, Omolafe Aderiye.
Suspects who are undergoing serious interrogation, it will be too early for me to reach a conclusion now, but I assure you that something is being done, and the results, of course, would be known to you all.
Lakanu, however, sends a strong warning to criminals to stop their nefarious acts or be ready to face the wrath of the law. He also thanked the people of Ekiti for their support since his resumption and vows to do more in the discharge of his police duties.
I want to acknowledge with profound gratitude the support and cooperation of the good people of the state in the last few weeks. I also wish to crave their indulgence for a continuous partnership through provision of useful information that can help prevent and or detect crime. I want to allay the fears as any information given to us shall be treated with maximum confidentiality.
Ammunition and other deadly weapons, including loots recovered from the suspects, were also put on parade. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
You're watching CoreTV Primetime News Weekend Edition. Osun State Government warns residents in flood-prone areas to relocate. Find out more after this time out. Stay with us.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it, don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
One continent, 54 countries, over 2,000 languages, but united with similar interests. As news breaks, we give you in-depth analysis around Africa every Monday on CoreTV News.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV Primetime News. A quick reminder of some of our headlines. Ondo sanitation exercise ends in tragedy as route claims 5 lives. Police station in Igbotako. PDP denies Tafawa Balewa's son presidential nomination form. Osun State government warns residents in flood-prone areas to relocate. Do not forget that you can also reach us on our social media platform at www.facebook.com/CoreTVNews. Twitter is at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube, it's at www.youtube.com/CoreTV_news. The Osun State government has warned residents of looming flood crisis following persistent rainfall across the state. The special advisor on the environment to the state governor, Bola Ilori, issued the warning while answering questions from journalists in Osogbo, the state capital. He, however, said the state government has embarked on the dredging of waterways up to 225 kilometers in order to allow the unhindered flow of water.
We've embarked on heavy dredging of the waterways since the advent of Ogbeni's administration. But the volume of rain this year has been massive. And particularly in the last 2-3 weeks, it has been raining ceaselessly. For this reason, we are appealing to our people to move away from the floodplain. We are doing everything possible to ensure that there will be no flood disaster We are happy that in the last 4 years we've not witnessed any flood disaster, and we are concerned about the health and safety of our people, to really advise our people to move away from the floodplain in the state.
Ilori also called on the residents to quit flood-run areas ahead of plans by the government to open dams in the state.
And cumulatively again, because of the volume of rain, we will be opening our dams. And that's a major development. So for that reason, we've taken all the necessary precautions that we could, but we need the cooperation of our people to ensure that nothing goes amiss, by ensuring that they don't stay at any place that could give any form of problem or hindrance in the state. So we are concerned. We've dredged a total of 250 kilometers of waterways, and that's why there has been no disaster so far. All our primary drains now are filled to the brim.
The Osun State government has declared Monday, 27th of October as a public holiday in commemoration of the Islamic New Year 1436 AH. The state governor, Ralph Aregbesola, joined other Islamic faithfuls at the program to herald this occasion at the Osogbo Township Stadium. Aregbesola, while wishing Muslims a Happy New Year, stressed that no religion preaches violence, hence the need for everyone to always allow peace to reign supreme in the society. With the theme of this year's celebration as Building an Ideal Islamic Home, the governor and other Islamic scholars at the event urged Muslims to imbibe the lessons of the occasion by staying away from sin. They also admonished Muslims and non-Muslims alike to build ideal families for a better society.
All faithfuls of whatever beliefs must refrain from anything that will stimulate crisis, that will promote violence, that will destabilize human communities, settlements, and abode.
Islam provides opportunity for a way of solidifying the home, because when the home is properly solidified, when we have a good foundation from home, the society will be better and it will be good for each and every one of us.
Patience and perseverance. The prophet was very, very patient and he persevered. And that is what he wanted to imbibe in all Muslims, so that we now take a kind of example from him.
Meanwhile, the Women Committee of the Nasser Lahil Fathi Society, otherwise called NASFAT, has donated gift items and hospital equipment to the Lagos Island maternity as part of the humanitarian service to mark the new Islamic calendar year. Oluwaseyi Adegoke brought back this report presented from our studios.
For the Islamic faithful, Hijrah means the beginning of a new calendar year. The national women leader of NASFAT, Nofisat Arungudade, says it is important to reach out to the people irrespective of religion.
Alhamdulillah, with Nasser Lahil Fathi Society, we've been to orphanage, we've been to everywhere, we never discriminate. We just, their desire is that our welfare should be spread to all.
The medical director of the Island Maternity Hospital, Imashemi Donald, expressed gratitude to the society for the donations.
The summary is that we appreciate what NAFTA is doing. We wish it to come more regularly, and it's an opportunity again to reach out to similar organizations, that even cross across religion, creed, to remember those who are needy.
Apart from giving babies at the hospital gift items of various kinds, the mother of the first baby of the Islamic New Year, Ramatullahi Adamson, whose child was blessed with special gifts including baby cot, among others, also expressed her gratitude to NASFAT.
Alhamdulillah, when they said they are coming today, that I'm the one that born the first daughter of the year, I'm just surprising that my dream has come true.
The society urged all Nigerian women, irrespective of their religion leanings, to impact positively on the society.
The World Health Organization in its latest report says the number of cases in the Ebola outbreak has exceeded 10,000 with 4,922 deaths. Only 27 of the cases have occurred outside the three worst hit countries, Sierra Leone, Liberia and Guinea. Those three countries account for all but 10 of the fatalities. Mali became the latest nation to record a death. A 2-year-old girl, more than 40 people known to have come into contact with her have been quarantined. The latest WHO report says that Liberia remains the worst affected country with 2,705 deaths. Sierra Leone has had 1,281 fatalities and there have been 926 in Guinea. Nigeria has recorded 8 deaths and there has been 1 in Mali and 1 in the United States. WHO says the number of cases is now 10,141, but that the figure could be much higher as many families were keeping relatives at home rather than taking them to treatment centers. It said many of the centers were overcrowded. 8 countries have registered cases in the outbreak. In West Africa, Senegal and Nigeria have now been declared virus-free by the WHO. We'll take another break and return with business, sports and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Nigerians are expected to seek out the best 2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know.
CoreTV News.
From the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news. Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
24-hour news station.
Glad to have you join us another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
If you are a sitting governor and the opposition is able to stomach structure against you, that means you are wicked to the people.
The end of our time as the legitimate authority to govern this country.
Give me 20 minutes to move or they will shoot me.
He has no chance for survival. If he likes himself, this is the best time to get out before he perishes.
The PDP as a ruling party has failed.
So anybody who thinks that government will fold his hands and allow miscreants to take over the streets of our own state and cause havoc is deceiving himself.
The good, bad, ugly and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on CoreTV News.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes and bleeding from the eyes, ears and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
And now to business. Experts have lamented the unfriendly business environment in Nigeria, which has grossly affected the amount of FDI in the country. This assertion was made by Kamar at the CIBN meeting. According to him, Nigeria is a country that will witness more foreign investors that will complement the local market if the conditions are right. On the other hand, Nigeria's rich natural resources will not suffice to attract enough inflows for FDIs. The Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Ben Akaboize, calls on the government to create sets of policies such as petroleum industry bill that will aid business environment. And now to sports. The Nigeria female football team, the Super Falcons, Saturday evening in Namibia beat their Cameroonian counterpart to lift the African Women Championship for the 7th time. Goals from the teenage sensation Azizat Oshwala and Gloria Akbaranozie earned Nigeria the much-deserved victory. The victory has also earned the Nigerian team a qualification for the FIFA Women World Championship next year. Cameroon and Ivory Coast also qualified alongside Nigeria for the World Tournament. The Chris Giwa-led faction of Nigeria Football Federation says it is now back in charge at the Glass House based on Thursday's court ruling, which annulled the September 30 election. A member of the group, Yahaya Adama, told journalists on the premise of the NFF Secretariat that all the decisions taken by Amaju are null and void. These, according to him, include the sack of the Super Eagles coaching crew led by Stephen Keshi. Jose Mourinho and Luis van Gaal insist their friendship will survive whatever happens when Chelsea look to cement their position on top of the Premier League with a statement victory at Manchester United on Sunday. Mourinho has never hidden his disdain for some of his managerial rivals, with Arsenal's Arsene Wenger and Aston Villa's Paul Lambert crossing swords with the Chelsea boss already this season. The prospect of a crucial clash with a team capable of ending his side's unbeaten start would usually bring out the antagonist in the Portuguese coach. Yet there should be a refreshing lack of animosity on the sidelines at Old Trafford this weekend. However heated the actions becomes off the pitch, because Mourinho and United manager Van Gaal have a bond that dates back 17 years to the day their paths first crossed at Barcelona. Egyptian President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi says the country is facing a threat to its existence from jihadists after the military suffered the biggest loss of life in decades in attacks in Sinai. At least 31 soldiers were killed in 2 attacks on Friday, the deadliest, a bomb blast near the town of El Arish. A 3-month state of emergency has been declared in parts of the Sinai Peninsula, and Egypt's Rafah crossing into the Gaza Strip was closed, while the presidency has declared a 3-day mourning period. In a live TV address, Sisi says a huge plot was being waged against Egypt by external forces. No group has said it carried out the attacks, which came as the army continued an offensive against jihadists in northern Sinai. The area has become increasingly lawless since President Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in 2011. Militants have stepped up attacks since Islamic President Mohamed Morsi was ousted by the army last year amid massive opposition protests. And just before we close, here's a wrap-up of stories that made our headlines. We told you that Ondo sanitation exercise ended in tragedy as riot claims 5 lives and a police station in Ibutako. We also brought you a story that PDP has denied Tafawa Balewa's son presidential nomination form. Or finally, Osun State government has warned residents in flood-prone areas to relocate. That's been our show for tonight. On behalf of the entire news crew, I am Gift or Gete, wishing you a wonderful good night. Good night.